Today I'm going to be covering the close range meta for Season 1 of the new Warzone, Warzone 3 if you want to call it that. So basically what makes an SMG really good? You really want to have good TTK, good DPS, good mobility, things like that. But pretty much TTK ends up being king for SMGs. It just ends up being the most important thing. You don't miss a lot of shots up close, so recoil doesn't matter that much. You just really have to get the fastest time to kill, fastest, best damage per second. So what we're going to do to start this is we're going to use the best stat lookup tool on TGD. For DPS. So basically what this does is any of these stats in this list here, this is a premium feature, you can select that stat, enter any info that it needs, and then select the weapons that you want to search through. So I have all of the SMGs added that are in Warzone 3. So we've got all the Modern Warfare 2 guns tested now for SMGs. After this video, I'm going to go test all the Modern Warfare 2 ARs, and then I also have all the Modern Warfare 3 SMGs and ARs and the rest of the guns up on TGD. I've been absolutely grinding to get all this done. So we got all that selected. DPS at 4 meters, and then all you have to do is press calculate, and it will run the calculation, and you can sort this list and see. So we did damage per second, so we want the highest possible damage per second. You can see that at 4 meters, the Fennec 45 has the fastest, or the best damage per second at 501. The WSP Swarm is in second, and the ISO 9mm is in third. WSP 9 in fourth. There's a note on that, though, that has open bolt delay, so DPS doesn't include that, but TTK does. Down below there, we just have MX9, Hurricane, all those different weapons. So this tool is really powerful to immediately help you hone in on what's going to be the best at a given range, just in terms of TTK or DPS. And like I showed, you can do any of these stats. So ADS, bullet velocity, fire rate, movement, sprint to fire, all those different stats you can look up in the same way that I just did here. So it is a pretty useful tool. So I click the little plus button next to the top 4 weapons from that search I just did. So we have Fennec, the WSP Swarm, the ISO 9mm, and then the WSP 9. Looking at this combination shot location TTK chart, 300 health. Again, this is all up on TGD, so you can go look at this for yourself. Also, we have released native apps for Android and iOS, so if you don't have those downloaded, be sure to get those downloaded. The link will be in a pinned comment for this video. Those are super useful. They're basically the website in app form. But back to the chart here, we have the Fennec 45 in red. So right off the bat, you can see the Fennec, like it showed up on the search, has the best DPS and the best time to kill in that first range. And it has a first drop all the way out at 12.2 meters. So it just has a longer drop and a faster time to kill on the chest. This is combination, but it is the same as the chest TTK. And we'll look at the forgiveness in a second here as well. We got the ISO 9mm in blue. So that's this line here. And you can see that that's a little bit faster than the WSP Swarm, which is basically what everyone's running right now in the first damage range, up to about 9 meters. And then after that, it has a pretty big drop off, and the Swarm is a little bit faster the rest of the way out. The most important range, I would say, is inside about 14 meters. Most of your engagements are going to happen with an SMG, but it is still important to be able to take a fight out to about 25 meters. So I wouldn't totally discount that Swarm just because it has a little slower TTK than the Fennec and the ISO 9mm. The WSP 9 has a very fast damage per second, but that doesn't include the open bolt delay. So if I turn open bolt delay off here, you're going to see that green line jumps down. Basically, open bolt delay is like a 50 millisecond delay between when you actually pull the trigger and when the first bullet fires. So if you just look at DPS or with open bolt delay off on a TTK chart, it's going to look better than it is. But it does have a very long damage range. It's pretty unforgiving, though, because it has a slower fire rate. So faster fire rate, if you accidentally miss on the target for a second and it's timed poorly, can be really penalizing because it takes a long time for the next bullet to fire if you got back on the target immediately. So with a fast fire rate weapon, the next bullet is going immediately, basically. So there's no delay if you miss a couple shots. So that's why faster fire rate tends to be a little bit more forgiving in any engagement. And then you can see the Swarm. So the WSP Swarm is what most people have been running in orange here, and I do think it's an excellent choice. It has the fastest time to kill of the Modern Warfare 3 guns in that first 6.3 meters, which is very short, but even after that, it's very quick. So it's not going to be nearly as fast as the Fennec from 6.3 meters up to 12.2, which is an extremely important range for an SMG. But everywhere past that 12.2, it is quite a bit faster time to kill. So it is a good gun, but I just don't think it's going to be quite as good as some of the other options. All right, I want to look at the damage profiles with you guys real quick so you can understand sort of forgiveness on these weapons. So this is the Fennec 45 that we're starting with. This is the damage profile over on the right. You can see headshot and then neck and chest are the same. Stomach is a little bit lower than neck and chest, and then legs and arms are all much lower. So 25 damage on legs and arms. If we go over to the Swarm, Swarm has the new Modern Warfare 3 damage profile, basically, where arms are the same as chest, neck, and stomach. So this whole area is a giant chest hitbox. So that is way more forgiving than what the Fennec has as far as damage profile goes. But I do want to mention that even if it takes an extra shot to kill, so if we go back to the Fennec, let me scroll down to the shot to kill tool. This is the shots to kill tool. This is another premium feature on TGD that helps you understand how missing off of the chest can change your time to kill. So looking at this, you can see that on the chest, we get 550 millisecond TTK, which matches up with the TTK chart. And then if we get 9 stomach shots and 3 chest shots, so we miss the chest and get 9 stomach shots, we're going to get a slower TTK of 605 milliseconds. We get only 3 leg shots or arm shots and the rest chest shots, then that TTK goes up to 605 as well. So if we go back to the comparison tool and look at the chart, the comparison TTK chart down here, put it on combination. So the Swarm was at 605, which is exactly what the Fennec is if you miss the chest. So even when it's unforgiving, it still matches the Swarm's TTK, it matches the ISO 9mm TTK, but it has more range than both of them. So even though it has that less forgiving hitbox, less forgiving damage profile across the body, it doesn't matter because it's still going to kill faster than the Swarm. All right, back up to the damage profiles. ISO 9mm also has that very forgiving damage profile, so 32 to the head, and then the whole gigantic, basically upper body hitbox. Arms, stomach, neck, and chest are all the same, and then legs are lower. WSP 9 also has that hitbox. The only difference is the stomach is actually the same as legs for the WSP 9. So the most forgiving are the Swarm and the ISO 9mm for sure. But like I said, the Fennec, even though it has this less forgiving hitbox, even if you hit a bunch of arms and stomach and stuff like that, and the TTK gets 1 shot worse, it's still going to be as fast as the Swarm and the ISO 9. So it doesn't really matter that much. It just gives you the potential to be faster if you do hit those chest shots. Now, before we move on to builds, there is a broken gun in the game right now. Broken as far as being way too good. That is the BAS-B. So I've added the BAS-B in yellow here to the chart, and you can see that immediately it has the fastest time to kill at 0 meters, and that carries all the way out to 35.6 meters at its first drop off. So it just has this crazy, ridiculous time to kill. So we're going to see if we can build a BAS-B that works as an SMG. Obviously, it's not going to have the movement or the sprint to fire of the other weapons, but sometimes that doesn't matter when you have a gun that can overcome that with a crazy fast time to kill and crazy long damage range. So if I had to rank these in terms of how good they are, I would say Fennec is the best. I think Fennec's the best SMG right now. The BAS-B, I would say I would probably run the BAS-B over the Fennec if I was able to get an AR as my secondary. So Fennec, BAS-B, I would say tied for first if you want better movement and, you know, just general SMG qualities. The Fennec's can be better, but the BAS-B, just that crazy damage range, crazy time to kill, I think it's probably a little bit better. And then I think I would actually give the ISO 9mm the second best spot because it has that longer damage range. It carries out to 9.4 meters. And it's a little more controllable. The recoil is easier than the Swarm. It feels very good. It has that huge upper body hitbox. And then the Swarm would be, if the BAS-B didn't exist, the Swarm would be an awesome sniper support. And it is a great SMG as well. So it has very fast time to kill in the first range. And then that TTK is pretty good all the way out. Even though it has a bunch of drop-offs, it kind of maintains its damage a little bit better than pretty much all the other SMGs, especially the Modern Warfare 2 SMGs. But BAS-B is just going to be better than that everywhere, except in situations where you need that sprint to fire time. All right, so let's do some builds here. We're going to start with the WSP Swarm. So muzzle, I really like the Sonic Suppressor S. It gives you a little more range, a little more bullet velocity, and has just a basically negligible effect on your recoil and your sprint to fire speed, which is really nice. That's just a great suppressor attachment there. It keeps you off the minimap when you're firing as well, which is very important. Underbarrel, we're going to use the XRK Edge BW4 hand stop. This is a really, really good attachment for SMGs specifically. So it hurts your hipfire and your tack spread, but this is not going to be a hipfire build, so we don't care about that. And tack spread is not something that happens very often, especially in Warzone, because when you're sliding, we have the perk in Warzone where you just get full ADS while you're sliding. So it just doesn't get used hardly ever. This is basically just a huge positive. Movement speed, crouch movement speed, ADS movement speed, ADS time, and sprint to fire. This attachment is a no-brainer. It's so good. Then we're going to use the 50-round mag. So 50-round mag is, you know, you could use the 100-round if you can't. This is going to be personal preference. The 100-round obviously slows you down a lot more than the 50-round mag. But the 50 round mag is going to have much better movement and ADS time, things like that. So it's going to be a little harder to use because this gun shoots crazy fast, so you're not going to have much damage per mag. But it's a trade-off. So just try these two, see which one you like. I'm going to recommend the 50 round mag for most people. Obviously, solos and duos, you use 40 or 50 round mag, and then trios and quads, you can kind of feel it out yourself and see what you like. Optic, I feel like this needs an optic. It shakes a lot. It's got a lot of recoil, so we're going to use the Mark III reflector. That tends to just be the cleanest optic. And then the last attachment, this thing does have pretty bad recoil, so we're going to use the FSS Fortress Heavy Stock. So this hurts your hip fire, hurts your movement a little bit, ADS a little bit, sprint to fire a little bit, but dramatically helps with your recoil and gun kick. So gun kick is basically how much the gun is shaking and moves off the center of the screen while you're firing, which this has a lot of. So this stock is awesome. WSP Swarm, great gun, fantastic gun, probably the third best SMG in my opinion right now, and that is a very, very good build for it. All right, next up we're going to do the ISO 9mm. Same thing here, we're going to do that same Sonic Suppressor S muzzle. I just think that's the best with the range and bullet velocity, and then just minor penalties to sprint fire and recoil. It's really a good attachment because it keeps you off the minimap now, firing your weapon, which is always good. We're going to use the same optic too. We're going to use the Mark III reflector. No penalty to ADS time anymore with that, so that's a solid optic, perfectly clean. We are going to use the SL skeletal underbarrel, if I can find it. There's 1,000 underbarrels now. SL skeletal vertical grip right here. So we've got helps with gun kick, helps with vertical recoil, hurts your horizontal recoil a little bit, but the ISO 9mm has very good recoil, especially compared to the Fennec and the WSP Swarm, which are the two other that I was competing this with. It has better recoil for sure, so we can get away with a little more horizontal recoil. And this helps significantly with ADS time and sprint to fire time. So it's a pretty cool attachment. It helps with vertical recoil and ADS and sprint to fire. So that's a pretty great attachment there. And then there's two options for the last attachment here. I guess there's two more attachments, but one of them is a magazine. We're gonna put the 50 round drum on there, of course. So the last attachment, I think there's a couple good options. So the demo fade tack stock is great. Gives you crazy ADS movement speed, which is always fun, especially for controller players. Get that rotational aim assist while you're strafing and ADSing. So this is a very powerful attachment. So that's the one I would tell most people to use. But these new high grain rounds are very good as well. So you get extra recoil, but you get 15% range and 15% bullet velocity. So if you use that instead of the demo fade tack, that's going to push your damage range out a little over 20% between that and the Sonic Suppressor S. So you're going to be getting about 12 meters of damage range, which is really good. That's better than almost all the other SMGs. It means that anytime you're in that range, like 9 meters up to 12 meters, you're going to win those fights pretty much every time if you have that much more. So that's up to you. If you want the damage range, go with the high grain rounds. If you want the ADS movement speed, go with the demo fade tack. But overall, I love the ISO 9mm right now. I think it is slept on. I don't think hardly anyone's using this. And it's definitely one of the best SMG game. All right, next up here, we get the Fennec 45. Like I said, I think this is the best SMG. You hit those chest shots, it is crazy. And then even if you don't hit those chest shots, it still matches the best other TTKs from the other SMGs. So just a W all around. Before I go through this, I want to remind you guys that we have Android and iOS apps now. Be sure to get those downloaded. They'll be in a pinned comment on this video. And I just want to thank people that are direct subscribers, supporters through the True Game Data website or the apps. When you guys do that, basically it frees me from the algorithm. I can just make content that's real. I don't have to try to exaggerate. I don't have to try to make things up because I don't have to be, beholden to the YouTube algorithm. So anytime you guys do that, it directly helps me just make more real, honest content. I feel like there's so much sensationalism out there that that stuff really bugs me. So I'm really appreciative of the fact that I don't have to do that like other people do to get those clicks and views. But anyway, on to the Fennec. We're going to use the same Suppressor S, Sonic Suppressor S. This thing's great. Negligible penalties with some bullet velocity and range. And then we are going to use the same optic again. This is pretty much the standard go-to optic, especially for SMGs, because it just has such a clear sight picture. We're going to use the DR6 hand stop. So again, this hurts hip fire area and tack spread. This is very similar to the XRK Edge, but it's just slightly different in terms of how the stats work out. We wanted ADS time more than we wanted movement with the Fennec here, so we're going to use the DR6 instead of the XRK Edge. Again, amazing attachment. We're going to use high grain rounds on this one because the recoil is manageable and 15% range and bullet velocity. This is going to be beating every SMG out to about 15 meters. So that's a significant damage range. Then of course the 45 round mag. Excellent SMG. I think it's the meta for sure as far as SMGs go. But like I said, the BAS-B right now is just kind of broken in general, so we're going to do that next. All right, onto the BAS-B. As I'm going through this, I want to show you guys something. This view table button I don't think a lot of people know about. So if you open this up, basically it's in a giant attachment table that shows you the stats for the gun, or yeah, for the gun you have selected. You can pin an attachment to the left. So basically, when I was building this, I was trying to decide between like no stock and a barrel and a laser. So I can select those slots. So I'll select barrel, laser, stock, and then look for an attachment that I wanted. So I was looking at anything that helps, you know, ADS time, things like that, sprint to fire. So this barrel here was pretty good. So was the crippling malice light barrel. So we're going to pin that one. So now that is pinned to the left, and I can scroll down to the stats I'm looking for, and then basically, you know, look over at the other attachments and see how they affect those stats. So like compare the stocks here to that barrel. If I scroll down, I can see how the stats compare horizontally. We do need to pin these to the top though, so you can see them as you scroll down, but if I zoom out a little bit, that doesn't happen. So when you're actually on desktop, you're zoomed out. I zoom in a bunch for the videos, but you can really compare the stats here between different slots, between attachments, and try to help you decide which ones have the best stats. All right, so let's build this bad boy. So something that is important in this game is being suppressed, just because it keeps you off the minimap. So I looked through all the muzzles, the barrels, everything to see what made the most sense. And the crippling malice light barrel, it doesn't say it on TGD yet, but hopefully it will eventually when I have time to go through and fix all the tiny things. This actually has an integrated suppressor. So when you put this on here, you're going to have an integrated suppressor, and you also get better movement speed, ADS time, sprint to fire time. Just a crazy, crazy good attachment for the BAS-B when we're trying to build it as an SMG. For the underbarrel, again, DR7 or DR6 hand stop versus XRK Edge BW4. The XRK Edge has better movement, but worse ADS time and sprint to fire time. And those are super important when we're trying to build an AR like an SMG. So we're going to use the DR6 hand stop. We're going to use the same old optic that we like for SMGs, the Mark III reflector. Magazine has to be the 45 round mag. And then the last attachment, I think the best option here is the Bruin Flash V4 light stock. Just a tiny penalty to gun kick, but then awesome movement speed bonuses for this whole gun, and then also sprint to fire bonus for the gun as well. So this really gives you good stats on the BAS-B. Scroll down and look at the stats here. We're getting the sprint to fire all the way down to 184, ADS movement speed at 3.34. So just really significant gains to ADS, sprint to fire, ADS movement, and it's still very controllable. And like I said, gonna have a crazy time to kill. So I've got all the guns there built the way that I showed in the video here. So let's scroll down and look at the time to kill chart with those damage ranges attachments added. So you can see Fennec in red there just gets out to a crazy 14.73 meters with the attachments that we chose. The BAS-B's range was reduced a little bit by the attachments, but it doesn't matter because it's still twice as far as the Fennec. So it's like twice as far as the fastest killing, longest damage range SMG, even with attachments that reduce that damage range. The Swarm's at 6.62 and the ISO 9mm is at 9.87. So a little shorter damage range there, but they're still great options. All right, guys, that's it for the video. I think that BAS-B and Fennec probably are the two top choices for an SMG right now. BAS-B is going to have just crazy damage range, but the Fennec has those SMG qualities. WSP Swarm is very good as well. ISO 9mm is excellent. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. If you're interested in subscribing, that's the best way to directly support the work that I do. And like I said, it helps me not have to make sensationalist content on YouTube. I can just be honest with you guys because I don't have to worry about what the algorithm thinks. I don't have to worry about getting 10 million clicks on my videos. I can just be honest. I can just make thumbnails that are actually accurate, content that's accurate. So yeah, it's the best way to support. You can subscribe through the website, the Android app, or the iOS app at this point. But yeah, appreciate you guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.